Hi, everyone. It is a beautiful new year, and probably only the folks who are watching us. Um, what is it now? It's saying redirecting to Facebook Live. There we are. I see us. Let me get where I can follow it, and then let me figure out how to share it. Okay, open that in a new tab. And I've got a place where I can share it to our group so you all can find us, and then we will officially get going. Let's see. Please click into video, do comment, and see reference resource. Okay, and now I'm going to hit post that. I'm in the video here, and then let's find it on the gardening tips group so other folks can find it.
I see it.
You see it. Awesome. I'm not seeing it, but that's okay.
Do you want me to pin it to the top?
Yes, please. And then what is it? So here we go. I see it. I see us. And then I'm going to Okay, so I need to go into featured. Okay, sometimes technology takes my brain away from me.
Well, at least you have a brain.
You have
I
a
only
brain?
have a,
Do you
I
have a
only have
brain?
a, no, I have a Brian.
You have a Brian. You
Yeah,
are
we
a
s-
Brian.
we swapped AI together.
Oh, okay. And then I'm going to pin to the top of featured, so it'll be the first thing folks see. And I'm going to close the windows I don't need open so that I don't confuse myself and click in the wrong place. And oh, in the Facebook group, within that post, we want to do an at everyone so folks can sign. Okay, some members, I love them. Some members might receive notifications and they don't really tell you what that means.
Oh,
And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the, let's see, let me get the, I think this works. If I just look at get the link to the video and I can post the direct link to the video. And that was, we did that in events and gardening tips live. And so in the discussion, add a post, we are live. You should be able to join us here. Join us. Okay, so if I do that, that should work. And it looks like it is connected to the video, which is awesome. And it looks like we have some folks actually with us right now.
good.
Okay, so that's in the live. Well, hi everyone who's here. Let me do sort of our official get started. My name is Amy Hahn. Oh, this is Gardening Tips Live. And my name is Amy Hahn. And I am joined by my friends and fellow master gardeners, Margot Emery and Brian Townsend. And we are here to talk about what's happening with gardening in the Knoxville area, East Tennessee. And if you've joined us, make sure to click into the video because that's the only way we can really see your comments well. And we want to, what is it? We want to hear what you all have going. So click, write a comment and say hi and let us know you're joining us. And if you have any gardening questions or, other questions, um, feel free to type them into the chat and we will do our best to answer them because we do keep an eye on that. But it does need to be the chat that's in the video. Hi, Bobby. Glad you're here with us. Yes, I'm warm. Margot, are you warm?
Well, my top stairs heater isn't working, but all the downstairs heat is coming up here, and
Oh,
I've got a
no.
I've got a thick jacket, so I'm fine.
Well, good. Yeah, it's not super cold like it was a couple weeks ago, but it is still below freezing. And Brian's enjoying breakfast. Uh,
Yep.
and we always start with a slideshow, and today we've got a super short slideshow. And so let me go ahead with that. I mean, of course, the big story for today, in the garden, outside the garden, whatever, is, oh, everyone's frozen. Hopefully I still have internet.
I hear you.
Okay, good. Because I'm not seeing, okay, let's
You
see.
got the bird bath with snow on it.
Okay, bird bath with snow is showing because I'm not seeing the feed at all. Oh, well. Okay, so hopefully things will work. Apparently my internet is a little on the slow side. So something's not working quite right. Um, okay, bird bath. So we got between 4 and 5 inches of snow. I'm in Lenore City near the Farragut border. And so that's what we got yesterday. And, by mid-afternoon, we were enjoying being inside and a
Yes.
pot of soup and stuff like that. So really feel for those folks who did need to get out and, who don't have a warm place to be. And hopefully they were able to make it to the warming centers that were open. Let me see
Mm.
if,
Don't forget our service people that have to be out. That's
yes,
their job.
and the people who
Um,
have to be out, the medical folks in the medical profession, the
Right.
fire and rescue and ambulance, all of those folks that have to be out.
road crews putting out salt.
Right. Snow crews. Well, and plowing, um, you'll see in a minute, my street has already been plowed, which is like, how did that happen? I mean, many times we have days before our street is actually plowed when we have
Yeah.
a decent snow. Oh, well, okay. So that's a bird bath in my yard. This is at Brian's place. He sent a video. And so some very
Oh,
nice Christmas lights.
The top Christmas lights, the white ones right there under the snow.
Oh, the white ones are under the snow and glowy. Those are really pretty.
they're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And then this is at Margot's place.
Yeah, I
And
traipsed out to get a photograph, but didn't think to photograph the garden. I just wanted to get a quick photo of the house and then get back in and get the snow off my boots.
I understand that. I love, the way when it's sort of a wet snow, how trees sort of get
Yeah,
outlined.
they're gorgeous. And I
It's just
deliberately
so
photographed to get
pretty.
them in. And
Yeah.
I'm close to downtown. We got maybe 3 inches at best.
Okay. So, if you're joining us, how much snow did you get where you are?
Yeah, Bobby.
Yeah. Whoops, went the wrong way. Okay, so there's like looking out my backyard and there's some plants just in a large container. And so you can see our road got plowed, which I don't know how that happened. I wonder if Loudoun County got some more snow plows. Okay, so that's for our next topic. I'm going to just stop sharing um, while we talk about stuff. So Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, everyone. And, you know, the month of January, at least for me, is a time when I try to look back at the previous year and look forward to the next year. And so, you know, one of the things I'm doing, I haven't brought paper and pen out, but just to write down, it's really helpful to just sit down and write down your thoughts about what happened, your garden in the previous year. It's also helpful to write down about the rest of your life in the previous year too. Um, but you know, for us, what happened in your garden? You know, what things do you look on back on and say, you know, that was fun to grow, but we didn't eat it. I've had a couple crops like that I've done, or I really loved growing that, you know, or you know, this is something I've grown for years, but this particular variety either stood out in a good way or a bad way. But just to put those notes down, in another 6 months or a year, you will forget that stuff. And so it's really helpful to just write it down. And so you can record that, you know, either then a note to yourself on your phone. I prefer paper personally. Um, but whatever way, it really is a good idea to, you know, look back at the previous year. Um, and do you all have any, you know, if you pruned a certain way, did that work well or not? What were crazy weather conditions? Like this past year, you know, you would want to note that we had sort of fairly long periods of no rain, followed by some periods of really heavy rain and then no rain again. And that stresses plants quite a bit. So, you know, and that affects how they're going to perform for the perennial plants. That affects how they're going to perform year after year. So, you know, I wouldn't expect to have seen as much growth on plants, on my perennial plants this past year in 2024 as I would have in 2023. Um, when I look back at 2023, it was a pretty mild year, with fairly regular rainfall for most of it. But 2024, that was not the story.
I keep reflecting on Leland Statham, the meteorologist for Middle
Mhm.
Tennessee, who was on our show, talking
Yeah,
about the shifts in weather patterns that, you know, we're getting rain when we're not historically expecting it, and we're getting big, fast events of it versus having it more steadily dispersed. And
yeah.
seeing that.
And that is one thing that I definitely watched a program that was talking about that we are definitely seeing we're having about the same amount of rain in the year, but it's coming in more violent bursts.
Right.
So it's more concentrated. So we're having, you know, more periods of really heavy rain and more periods of no rain, which is, you know, very different for the plants.
And it's
So,
different also in terms of how we manage our soil in our gardens,
mhm.
in terms of water infiltration, being able to capture that water and hold
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah. And
I mean,
mulch.
mulch. Yeah. And you really want to do your best to capture. I mean, it's like up in the north, they talk about snow actually acting like a fertilizer because snow
Yeah.
brings nitrogen, which plants need, into the ground. And see, here in the south, we don't have that most of the time, or in a significant amount. And I think it has to do with there also is stuff about how quickly the snow melts, you know, for how much nitrogen gets into the soil, but I don't know details on that.
Yeah. Well,
Seems like
they also have a longer winter.
Yes, they definitely do. Shorter growing season.
Fine Gardening has got an article
Mhm.
about snow as a fertilizer, and it calls it the poor man's fertilizer.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. And it's like, but we just can't depend on that here. And even when we do get snow, we don't get very much in a year. So it is nice. And it actually, I know the temperatures aren't getting super cold in the next few days, but if you have snow cover and it gets even in single digit temperatures or below, what's the plants under that snow never go below 32 degrees, which is the temperature of freezing water. So that is one of the reasons why some plants that survive much further north don't survive here. That and also um, snow cover is a slow water release. The moisture is released slowly from snow. But when you have it, our winters are typically very wet. And so, like, I've had rhubarb brought out because of the moisture,
Mm.
where, it is a very cold hardy plant, but I don't think it does well with wet winters. And so if you want that to survive, you have to have it in a place that is going to be really well draining for the winter.
Like containers or a raised bed.
Well, the problem with that is it doesn't like its roots to be too hot in the summer.
Ah,
And so that makes rhubarb hard to grow here.
but if you have a large enough, okay,
Hmm.
that would take out the containers right there, or a light colored container. But what about a raised bed that's at least 4 by 4?
I've never tried it. The advice I was told to plant it on the north side of a building where, where the soil's well drained and it sort of slopes away from it. And so that did work for a couple years, but it is one of the harder crops here because we always have folks who move here from further north that ask about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it? Every plant is different, and some plants do really well here and some don't. So the next thing I think we were going to talk about is there anything else about journaling and keeping records and remembering your previous year that we want to
Posted
talk about?
a couple of resources about that, and most of them were showing paper journals, although one
Hmm.
of them had lots of tips, and they may have gotten down to video journals and saving photo albums. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think that point that they don't have to be a written journal, a
right,
book, is a good thing to bear in mind because some people, even me with my garden journal, I prefer to do it a different way.
right, yeah. So how do you do yours?
Well, that's a good question. And I knew I was setting myself up for it. I take photographs and then I may
Yeah.
photograph some notes to go with it. But that and then I keep seed packets where I'm going to see them that I want to
Uh-huh.
plant the next year. So I'm pretty
Okay.
haphazard at it, and that should not surprise you.
No, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. So for me, I like doing it on a paper, even though I do have the photographic record of my garden to jog my memory, but I like solidifying my thoughts on paper. Oh, also, for those of you who follow us, I plant garlic every year. This year, I planted my garlic on January 1st, which is the latest I have ever planted it.
I'm going to be following behind you. I had surgery in November and I've not been mobile, but
Yeah.
I've got to get my garlic in the ground.
Yeah, and the thing with garlic and any bulb plant, so if you have, well, any one that comes up in the spring, like the spring blooming plants, the daffodils, crocus, all of those, um, if you have bought them and have not planted them yet, when the snow melts, get out and plant them because those do not save from year to year. So if you don't plant them, you're going to lose them. you might not get, actually, you'll get as big a bloom on the flowering bulbs. You'll get as big a bloom this coming year, but you might not get as big a bloom the next year because the resources for the bloom that it'll do this year is already inside of it. So it stored those up last year before you purchased it, but it might not perform as well the next year if it's planted late. So, and I fully don't expect my garlic heads to be as robust, as big as I usually get because I planted so late. They won't have as much growing time, but I will
How's it,
get garlic. Mhm.
how late can you harvest those?
Well, I harvest them based on maturity. So they will grow and they'll put out a certain number of leaves, 6 or 8 leaves. When they get down to only having 4 or 5 mostly green leaves, I will harvest them. So it's not time based. It's actually, when I see the garlic giving me those signs, each leaf on garlic represents one layer that's around the head. And if you let it get to too few layers, your head will fall apart and it won't store and it won't dry right.
That's why I wear caps.
So you can store well.
No, so I won't lose my head.
Oh, okay. You're not wearing one now,
It's cold outside.
but not inside. I'm
Oh,
confused.
see, you're just momentarily. I'm constantly confused.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, if you have bulbs that you purchased in the past year, get them in the ground somewhere. If you, what is it, have a container and can throw some potting mix in it, put it in there, but put them outside because most of the bulbs need the cold. The only exception would be the amaryllis, because they're their own thing.
And
And
I had some iris. I had
mhm,
thinned my iris and not gotten the remaining plants back in the ground.
yeah,
I also had a shallow pot of some shrub seedlings that somebody had given me,
hmm,
small clones, and didn't have time with my surgery coming up to get those
yeah.
really dug in. And so I had those plant tubs that you had recommended, what,
Oh
like
yeah,
17-gallon
big
tubs?
containers.
Yeah, and the iris went in one and the shrubs went in the other until there's time to deal with them. And I
Yeah.
can still plant the shrubs in early spring, so that's
Oh
for
yeah.
yeah, and the iris will be fine in the containers. You can do that. It's
Right.
just I would have preferred to have that container for some kind of spring vegetable.
Yeah. Well, and iris, if you need to move them, what you're sacrificing is the year of bloom.
Right.
So you can pretty much move iris anytime, but if they haven't bloomed already, and aren't in a more dormant state, you're going to lose probably a year of bloom.
I say I probably already have because they weren't
Yeah.
in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you just left them sitting not in soil, they would
Would
be
have lost the
gone. It would
iris.
be
Yeah.
compost. Yeah.
Can
Don't want
you
that.
can you for this season, for this spring, can you plant pot and iris in the ground? And then after the bloom
Oh,
cycle,
like
transplant
make
them?
a hole to put sink the pot in.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do
Yeah, you
that.
could, if you had the energy to dig the hole,
We,
but it's energy and time, and it sounds like Margot, you didn't have time to do that. Yeah, but if you have like a plant in a container, you can dig a hole and sink the whole container if you're, or you can, a lot of people will sink it in like their vegetable garden beds if they're holding a plant through the winter that they didn't get planted. And then early spring, they just pull the pot and plant it where they want to plant it.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a name for that. Um, I don't remember what the name for it is, but there's a name for doing that. and then so you use your vegetable garden area for a nursery bed for the winter, and then you move the stuff out somewhere else. Because I could see digging a hole for a container in my vegetable garden where the soil's loose, and I could just plop that down in there and pull it up when I'm ready to plant it somewhere else, or when I'm ready to plant my vegetable garden. Um, so another thing I'm thinking about doing is I have all these, this is sort of crazy. I have containers with, this is a cigar box that someone gave me. There's packages of seeds in there.
Oh,
That's some breeding experiments I'm doing in that one.
that should
These
be
are
a
my
cedar box
seeds.
then.
I have seeds everywhere. Oh, I don't have seeds in this one. I used to use this one for seeds. I guess I think I moved them to a different container. I have this container that I put my seeds in. This is my favorite one. I wish I could get more of these,
I
but
know, keep looking.
I made little dividers in it, and then I use binder clips to hold the different kinds of seeds together.
Wasn't that box from Monticello?
No, this one actually came from World Market years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So this is all my beet family seeds. I don't know if you can read. Oh, I'm putting it in the wrong place. So that's all my beet family seeds. That's spinach and beets and chard. Actually, it's spinach and beets. No, chard and something. I don't know. But I have different, I have radishes, I have peppers, tomatoes. But then I can pull out that particular type, look through it. So this is the time of year where I do an inventory of all my seeds. And as you can see, this is my bin of small seeds. And then I have another whole metal bin that's the larger seeds, that's corn, squash, and beans, which we'll get to. This is the one where I put things in that I'm ready to plant. This one has nothing in it. How did I end up with ones with nothing in them?
I think that
And
one's
then
mine.
this is a
Those are
cool one
my
I
seeds
found at
right
a
there.
thrift store. Another tin. So you can store seeds in just about anything. So this is herbs, my different herb seeds.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's, yeah, flower seeds in there.
Okay. When
Yeah,
you
Brian.
talk when you talk about storing seeds in any kind of box right there, are you concerned about moisture,
Um,
humidity?
uh, since my house is air conditioned, okay, so with seed saving, um, they talk about 80 as being an important number. So you don't want it above 80 degrees and you don't want it above 80% humidity.
Oh, oh,
And so inside my house, which is air conditioned, it never gets above 80 degrees and never gets above 80% humidity. Now I'll put some sort of desiccant package. Um, Usually I actually purchased some silica gel, which is a moisture absorber, and I will put I have a package of that inside each of the containers.
okay.
Just for insurance. And they are contained, I don't put them in places that are really damp in my house or have a lot of temperature fluctuation. And then this is my bin I found this at a thrift store. I thought it would be really cool for storing some more of my seeds.
It's beautiful.
So this is the larger seed. That's the beans and the peas and I don't think I have any corn anymore because every time I attempted to grow corn, the raccoons got it before I did. And I don't have a good space to grow it anyway. And so I want to use my good gardening space for other things. And I value the market farmers who grow corn. So, but that is how I store my seeds. But the big things are keeping it relatively cool and dry and out of light. As you'll notice, all my containers, I tend to go for metal containers. They keep the light out. So Margot,
Now,
what do you have?
I sent a picture of mine.
Oh yeah, let me go to your picture. Let
It
me
is a
show.
valuable Tupperware container that I would prefer to have for soup, but it has evolved into my seed storage. And you will see it's clear plastic, but
Okay.
where I store it is in an unheated bathroom that has no window. So
Mm-hmm.
it stays dark in there. And
Yeah,
how do you feel about the seeds being saved in a sealed container like that? Because I've wondered if that really is
I
what I.
think that should be fine because,
Okay.
well, if the humidity inside the container, I might put, like a desiccant package in there of some sort,
Yeah,
to make sure the humidity doesn't increase when you're opening and closing it. And storing it in a bathroom, I would definitely, want it to be like a plastic container like it is that seals.
right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
what
And
about some people like to store their seed packets and other stuff in a separate refrigerator.
I'd love
I
that.
think that's fine. Yeah. You would want to have them in okay, refrigerators dry things out.
Right.
And seeds do have to have a certain amount of moisture in them to be alive.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, um, but you do have to have some. So you would want it, I've definitely seen people put them in a glass jar, with a lid on it, sealed lid on it in the refrigerator. I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that. Um, I think I did that a couple years and then I needed my refrigerator space and then I stopped doing it. And I actually didn't notice a change in how long the seeds last. And the reality is most seeds um, are viable, will germinate for many, many years. Um, what is it? The most popular vegetables, squash, beans, corn, tomatoes, peppers, you're looking at somewhere between 5 and 10 years for seed life. And when you buy seeds, they will always say on them, this one says packed for 2021. So this packet, and it's on the back in the little letters. You probably can't see that. Um, every seed packet will do that, will be that. It does not mean they were grown the year before this was packed. The law is the seed companies have to do germination tests before they sell seed. And so they had to do a germination test, and this one actually has a lot number. So that would be that particular seed that they got from a seed grower. So they had to test that. They have to test that lot every year before they can sell it commercially. And it has to have a certain germination percentage for them to be able to legally sell it. This came out of when seed companies first started. It was not unusual for them to sell seed that had zero germination. And so laws were put in place to prevent that and protect the
Oh,
consumer. But it doesn't mean, okay, so the seed you buy might already have been 4 or 5 years old. But for tomato seeds, that's probably fine since they can last 10 or more years just in normal air conditioned household temp conditions. But you really don't know how old the seed you're buying is. I've definitely seen that more with probably lettuce seed than anything else. I have purchased some lettuce seed from a grower who grew their seed and it was probably first year seed. And that seed was still viable 4 or 5 years later. And lettuce seed is one of the things that folks say, oh, that only lasts a year or two. But that seed lasted like 5 years with good
Good to know.
germination. But I've also had lettuce seed that I purchased only be good for a year
yeah.
past what I purchased it.
Amy, I
Well,
love
you,
looking at your
go
face
ahead.
versus my Tupperware.
What?
I
Oh,
love
I should
looking
turn
at your
that. I
face.
should stop sharing. Oh,
Yeah.
let's show. There's my pile of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have a few different things. And then I have a shoebox that I put things in that are destined for seed swaps. And it can either, there's two reasons things end up in there. Like I said before, sometimes I'll grow things and we decide our family doesn't enjoy eating them. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the seed, but I'm not going to grow it again. That was, I love growing kohlrabi. It is such a cool looking vegetable. The first time I grew it, it was like, that's an alien spaceship because it's got this big ball and it's got these big leaves that come off of the ball. I mean, it is such a cool vegetable, but no one in our house loves eating it.
Did you try it raw on salads and
Oh,
things?
yeah.
I
I mean, I
love it.
like it okay, but okay, I can buy one or two kohlrabis from the farmer's market,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't want to, and it takes a lot of space because it'll grow the bulb up and then it has these big leaves that come out. And it's just not something I want to dedicate garden space and energy to. I'm the only one in our household that sort of like that likes it. And so I'm not going to grow it. I'll let someone else grow it. If I really want some, I'll go to the farmer's market and get it. They have it. In the spring and fall, it is a cool season vegetable. But there are vegetables like that. Um, and everyone will have them. They'll find vegetables that, they can grow. I can grow good vegetable, good seed, but I don't particularly care for it. And so I pass those along. I'm one of these people who I very much prefer, I don't like sweet tomatoes, with the exception of sun gold, but that's its own thing. So I want tomatoes that they're more on the acidic side, that have a really rich old-fashioned tomato flavor with a lot of umami. And if I try a variety and it's not that, I'll pass the seed on. So it's just not for me. It's not bad. So those end up in the bin for the seed swaps. I also save a lot of seed. It's a little crazy. Okay, let me bring some things over here. This is some of my craziness. Um, I'll just bring these over. But there's about a dozen containers over there, and I got to be careful not to spill them. So this is the unknown bean of Washington Parish that I grew this past year on a trellis. And so this is my harvest, and we could either eat these or we could use them for seed. I will probably pack up a fair bit of this for seed swaps, but I
And is that
probably should cook some so I know what to tell people about them.
from John Corkendall?
That's from John Kirkendall. Yes. This is, oh shoot, the label came off. I think these are my magnolia tendril peas. So they're one of my edible pod peas. This is just the little black-eyed Susans, the most common black-eyed Susans. And then this is something, I actually have a little label down in there. It's called teff. And if you've ever seen pink muhly grass, this is actually white muhly grass. And it's one of the teeny tiniest grains. I don't know if I can pull out. So this is one of the, I don't know, can you even see that? So that's like where the grain was inside, like, you know how wheat kernels are? So this is the coating for the teff kernels. And I think they might even still, no, they're not inside there. I don't feel. But I got that. I figured I could plant it as an ornamental and then harvest the grain. So that's an experiment. But so I have like a dozen containers like that around, and I need to pack them up before seed swaps because there's definitely some sweet seed swaps toward the end of February. And I don't know when I think Stanley's is usually the first one to have a seed swap. So I don't know when theirs is scheduled this year. If anyone knows, put it in the comments. But so I will pack up seed in containers, in packages. My favorite seed package is coin labels, coin, coin things, and I actually put a double-sided sticky tape on them. So this is a double-sided sticky tape that comes with a paper liner. I pull it off, and then I have reclosable seed packets. But
Do you buy those off of Amazon or do you find them locally?
I find the coin labels locally. I actually buy the tape stuff at Jerry's Artorama, and I found out, what is it called? It has a special name, but it's by all their tapes and stuff, and it looks like this. And it's like a real thin, if you're old enough to remember rubber cement,
Oh,
That's what I
yes.
was thinking it's like, yeah.
it's like a super thin smear of rubber cement, but it's on a paper liner. I mean, you can't even see it there. Well, there. You can't really even see the adhesive, but if I stick it to my finger and pull the liner, you can see it. There. Can you see it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super thin,
Yeah.
but it works good for closing the seed packets and it's reusable. I use it for other stuff too. I like doing crafty things. But so that's sort of how I handle seeds. I do a seed inventory. I am crazy enough to have a big spreadsheet that has, the variety, where I got it, what year, and then I put notes on it. Did we like it? How did it germinate? You know, how did it grow? So I've got this big spreadsheet. And so I used to just keep that information on paper. And so, whatever works for you. But you can keep seeds for quite a few years.
There was that website that had spreadsheets where you could document things. And I think part of that
Oh.
was the planting time and the harvest time. Do
Mm-hmm.
you remember that? Because the spreadsheets on that were pretty fantastic.
Okay. I don't remember. Let's see.
I didn't mean to drag you down a
Yeah,
rabbit hole.
planting and harvest.
You need a
I
spreadsheet to
know,
remember where the
Jerry.
spread.
What, Brian?
You need a spreadsheet so you can find where the other spreadsheets are.
Oh, yeah, sometimes you do.
It was
Oh,
it was
I'm
a
seeing,
premium service at the website. They had something you could use that was basic, but the premium service was the one that was so tempting.
oh, was it the seed time?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a really interesting, I mean, it is what I use for some of my planning. I'm sort of discouraged because so much happened last year health-wise that most of my plans for last year didn't happen. But that's reality some years. He's drinking out of the jug.
Gross. Is that your personal jug that you don't share with other people?
I'm
There
Or
is
sure.
nobody else to share with.
Yeah.
Here's
So,
here's to you.
yeah.
It's the only time I do hard drinking.
Oh, when you're on the show.
Well, somebody's got to show everybody else how to do it.
Oh, okay. You're funny. Well, is anyone out there with questions or anything for us? You know,
People have
because
been
we would
quiet.
gladly
I think
talk
they're in
about
front of their
that.
fires with their feet propped up and not
Yeah. Or
necessarily
probably anyone
watching.
who has kids is out playing in the snow with them.
Absolutely.
That is a super treat. What is it? I think my youngest is 25 and might be over getting in the snow playing with her mom.
Oh, fun.
Um,
I was out with my doggy playing in the snow. He loves the snow. He laid in the
Oh,
snow
I
to
bet.
chew on a snow-covered ball.
Oh, how funny. Yep.
and then we wait to go inside to shake it all off.
Well, he didn't want to come back in. I had to bribe him. Well, that's how he got the
Yeah.
cod treat, Brian.
Ah, that's where the odor come from.
The smelly cod treat I gave the dog. He saved it, brought
Oh,
it
okay.
upstairs.
Margot was
Oh,
talking about that before we went live. Um, but I know a lot of the what is it, seed companies have, various tools for you where you can, put in your date. Um, you're like, okay, important dates for gardening are last spring frost and first fall frost. Those are two of the big important numbers. And so they'll have where you can enter in those dates, and it'll give you like a planting calendar where you can mark off what you want to plant and when you want to plant and figure out when you want to plant it. And I know Johnny's Selected Seeds has that. I think Territorial Seed Company has something like that. So
does
there's a
it matter? Does it
yeah.
matter where these seed companies are as far as planting zones?
If they have a calculator type thing that has you enter your frost-free dates, it's usually okay. Though sometimes some of them will say you can plant lettuce midsummer. They'll say you can plant some of the cooler season vegetables through the summer, and that's not really something we can do here. It gets too hot for them. The other thing I was thinking, what was I thinking? It went out of my brain that would be helpful. If I think of it, I'll put it in the comments later.
Wasn't
Um,
the Tennessee home fruit and
it
vegetable calendar? We
was
should mention it
Tennessee
because that's
Home.
out.
The paper version has been printed, and what is it? Brian will have them available at
The
the
Dixie Lee Indoor
Dixie
Farmers
Farmers
Market
Market, Winter
next
Market,
Saturday,
which is at the Farragut Community Center, and they're
right?
running what at 10 to 1.
Right.
As
Checks are
of
open now.
as of right now, the 2025 one is not online, but it should be soon. Wait,
And y'all will post it in the group.
I see something talking about, oh, they're just talking about the print version of them. And I know if you want to go by the Knox County Extension Office, they do have a few copies there of the Tennessee Home Fruit and Veggie Calendar. I do have a couple here, and we will have them at the House and Garden Show in February.
I saw those dates were coming up. Yeah.
I know.
Brian will be there probably. Brian is usually there, and the
Yeah.
master gardeners are working the table. So find them when you go to the garden show. It's like February 9, I believe, or so. Come say
It's that
hi.
first weekend,
Okay, what's the date? Have you got that?
um, 5th, 5th through 7th, is that what it is?
Okay.
So here's the calendars. They exist. And as soon as they're available online, we will post them in the group. Because I know for many people, online is great. What I will tell you is, as far as what's inside them, um, this time of year, the most important thing is the things on this first page, which is the first and last frosts for the different parts of Tennessee, and these publications, which is preparation, planning, all the stuff you need to know. On the online version and the 2024, this page is the same. I don't know if the dates have changed a little bit, but I don't think they have. But these links are the same, and go to them. If you're a first-time gardener or have just gardened a few years, it is will really be helpful to read through at least these first couple publications, especially the one on garden planning and plant preparation and planting. That one's a really important one.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can go look at the 2024 home fruit and vegetable calendar,
Which is still
and
online.
right, and it's still out there, and it has a lot of the same information. What'll be different in them is what's highlighted on the different monthly pages. So this is like the February page, and it talks about growing fruits in Tennessee. And I think a lot of the information on here was actually listed in the fall of the 2024 calendar. So, there's different things listed for each calendar, in the monthly pages. Yeah, Brian.
One thing I've mentioned on our gardening Facebook group right here is that we may think that because it's snow outside or it's just cold, there's really not much going on gardening wise right there. But I want you to stop and think about this. Um, there's a lot of planning that should be you should be doing right now. Well, all the leaves are gone off the tree, so we see the bones, what we call the bones of the landscape right there. You need to take a look at this right here. Say, do I want to change anything or add or subtract or whatever else? But also, when Miss Amy is talking about the garden right here, do you have your supplies? Do you know when you should be starting your seeds? That calendar is going to tell you how to do that. There's a lot of things that we can do now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the only seeds that I would be starting now really are if you're wanting to grow onions, leeks, shallots, the onion family crops. I usually start those sometime in January because those grow on really slowly. And then everything else is later.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, there's a Jake. Hi, Jake.
I can't see. I've got a time delay, but yes, there he is.
Oh,
He's been
yep.
skulking around in the background doing bad things.
Oh, so you have him with you where he won't do bad things.
Yes.
He gets to be a good puppy. Yep. So, yeah. And so there's a couple places where you'll be able to find the fruit and veggie calendars with us in the next month or so. And just looking forward to spring, even though honestly, I love having at least one good snow a year because it's beautiful out there. Yep. And I think we're gonna say goodbye for today and happy gardening. And starting in February, we will be going back to our once a week. So if you have questions for us, be sure to ask us. If you want to join us during the show, I will, when I do the event for the next show, I will put, there's a discussion area. So I am going to start putting the link to the video feed in the discussion area as soon as we go live. And so if you want to be able to find us, that's probably the surest way. Just put a comment in that discussion area saying, I want to join you. And I believe it will tag you when I add to that discussion, hopefully. Facebook has changed the way that they send out notifications to people. And so I don't know, we don't always know when people get notifications for what anymore.
Yeah.
But
And
happy gardening, happy New Year.
Stay warm.
if you got a question that cannot wait
Mhm.
until the next time we have Garden Tips Live right there, bring it to
Oh, yeah.
our homepage right
Facebook
there.
group.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can either try to answer that, or we could tag Miss Amy, or
Yes,
and we will help you find the answer.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, don't hesitate to just put a question in the Facebook group and we will try to make sure you get a good answer
Yeah.
that will
Yep.
help you along. And Happy New Year. Stay safe with the snow and happy gardening, you
Yes.
all. Let's see, gotta click everything and get to the stop the screen. Bye, everyone.